Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Bhavna Rao with Meridian Springs Primary Care. We are a direct primary care clinic serving the Woodlands and Tomball areas. So we are on our mission to make 2021 the greatest year, and we have 10 big ideas. The first idea was about eating, and we did a talk on that with Jill Roberts last week. This week is the second big idea, movement. So we have today with us Travis Hauser, Doctor of Physical Therapy and owner of On the Move Physical Therapy with us to discuss movement and how movement is important and how it can make 2021 a great year for all of us. Welcome, Travis. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Dr. Rao.
So we are here to discuss movement, and I know that, movement is a big part of what you teach your clients and coach them with. So what are some of the things you see on a daily basis?
Absolutely. Movement is so huge that that's part of the name of my business, On the Move. And so the biggest thing that I see is that people in general aren't quite as active as they think they are. They're either they're really active during a very small part of the day and then not so active the rest of the day, or they think they do enough things around the house to stay moving, so that they think that their activity level is a little bit higher than not. And so by the time I work with them, I find that they're typically a little bit not as conditioned as they think they are. And that can lead to things that you work with, all the medical comorbidities.
So I think mankind as a whole are moving less and less as years go by because of technology, because of automation. And that's why, and then there are people who think that I go exercise, do an hour's activity in the gym, and that will solve my movement issues. And that's going to make me fit and avoid all the health problems. But then they're sedentary the rest of the day. So we have people now who are active and sedentary at the same time.
Yeah, and that really can play a trick on a lot of people's minds. You know, they don't really realize how that 23 hours of being sedentary completely negates that. No matter how heavy you exercise for that 1 or even 2 hours, but the remainder of that day completely negates the effects of the movement that you did prior. So it's important to teach them throughout the course of the day how they can move.
Right. And then we want people to think of a movement mindset and move away from the exercise and the workout mindset.
Absolutely. I find that I use it as the dreaded E word sometimes, right? So exercise, and people freak out whenever you say, "Oh, I can't exercise. I have X, Y, Z, and 1,000 reasons why you can't exercise." And so when you do that, you start to think of exercise as a chore. And in reality, like you said, we've started to move less and less because of industrialization and because of computers and because of technology and all those things. And so when we try to shift that mindset from exercise to movement, it makes movement so much more enjoyable, and therefore they're much more likely to do that throughout the course of the day. And that's really the premise of everything that I do whenever I work with my clients.
That's so great to hear. People forget often that, I see people with ADHD and sometimes not even a solid diagnosis of ADHD, but just feeling of losing focus, brain fog, a lot of depression. And, sometimes there is a range of depression. Sometimes people have severe depression, but a lot of times people may think they are depressed, but not really clinically depressed. And what if we can say that there is one magic pill that will treat all these conditions that we see on a daily basis: fatigue, lack of focus, foggy brain, depressive symptoms. And that magic pill is movement and exercise. And
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. The of course, moving helps you physically, and it makes your muscles stay stronger. It keeps your joints healthy, and it keeps all of those things orthopedic related, bones, joints, and muscles, but mentally too, because I mean, there's medicines that
mhm.
are based on the chemicals that exercise releases. So with that dopamine and that serotonin, that's the same thing that's in some of your mental health medications. And
Yeah,
so our body is capable of making that, and that's just with the right kind of movement.
right. So you can make your own Ritalin, your own Prozac, your own Ambien, and all that for no cost, and just by increasing your movement every day.
Yeah, yeah. Our body is super amazing in that sense.
Right. And we've also known that, human beings, the body structure has been made for walking and moving. So can you talk a little bit about that, about how your body structure is designed to move, to walk?
I tell people that all the time. I think that's my favorite one liner, because people will ask me, why does this hurt? Or why am I having trouble focusing? Or why am I having trouble? And my favorite one liner is because our bodies are made to move. It's super evident that our bodies were made to move, because way back when, I mean, people literally walked instead of driving,
Miles, for miles, yeah.
Exactly. That was their primary form. So they constantly had the weight bearing. They constantly had the lubrication of the joints. And then they constantly had the release of those chemicals. So it definitely improved them overall. And sometimes just adding a little bit of walking into your day, that does not mean that at lunch you have to go walk around the parking lot 15 times, although that can be beneficial. But something that I use with my clients, specifically ones who are stuck at home, because we're all kind of stuck at home a little bit right now with the current pandemic.
People are
But
working from home, and they have they probably can't go for a walk even if they want to.
exactly, exactly. So one of the things that I like to use is try to figure out something that you have to do. So I use something like going to the restroom. So when you go to the restroom, before you come back and resume your work or your leisure, whatever it is that you're doing, walk back and forth up and down your hall 5, 10 times. And that way you're guaranteed to walk more than you were before. So you can either use triggers like that or set an alarm on your phone, and every hour get up and try to walk around a little bit.
Small
Yeah.
triggers. And NASA has done studies on inactivity by people in space for a longer time without gravity versus somebody on Earth with gravity. And they have proven that we age more, and of course, it affects bone density, muscle density, and also there are certain genes turned off because of inactivity. And they have found that the human being ages much faster with without activity, without gravity, and without activity against gravity. So this is a proven science. So we in the medical, that everyone knows that doctors always advise and recommend older individuals to do weight training to improve bone density, to prevent falls. But the same thing applies to even younger people. You don't have to be above 70 to do all these things to improve bone density. Even just sitting inactively for 8 hours in front of your laptop, even though you're working, can bring you closer to that kind of a bone density loss and muscle mass loss than otherwise. So you're doing it to yourself even now by just sitting at your desk 8 hours a day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that I love about doing what I get to do is trying to teach people. So, like you said, you don't have to wait until your golden years. I've heard so many people in their golden years talk about how not so golden they are, right? And so much of that is from not moving around. So if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, leading up to those golden and those retirement years, and you're taking care of your body by just incorporating something so simple as moving around a little bit more, and that can improve your quality of life when you retire. To me, it's a no-brainer, to try to figure out what works best for you and how you can incorporate that into your daily life. Because it's that free magic pill that we talked about that helps to. I tell people a lot of times too, I don't think I've ever met anyone older than 90 that says, you know what, I've never been a very active person. They always say that they've walked, they've done
Yeah.
exercise, they've done sports. And so I really think that movement is kind of like a little small fountain of youth.
Definitely. Activity leads to longevity and quality of life, when you're older.
Yep.
So just to recap our discussion, so we first discussed about movement versus exercise, and then could you give us some tips as to how to incorporate movement during your whole day versus wait for that 1 hour when you hit the gym?
Yep, absolutely. So, a couple of things that I typically incorporate into just about everybody that I work with, is that trigger, that walking, trying to increase your amount of walking. But also, people get terrified of the word squats, and they tell me that they can't do squats, and I say, "Do you stand up all of your life?" And they say, "Oh, you know what? That is a squat." But yeah, so sitting down. So I'll use this kind of. I have an example. I have one of these office chairs that has this yoga ball on it, and it's a rolling chair. And if I have to sit down in that chair for longer than really an hour, I try to stand up and sit down 5 to 10 times every hour. And so that tells your muscles, hey, wake up a little bit. It gets you out of that bent over posture and your shoulders kind of sitting like this. So you stand up and really get your arms up, because also our bodies function the best when you're upright too. So as you lean far forward, because the computer puts you right here, then you decrease your chest cavity, so it brings on heart and lung issues. So standing up
Breathing
and
less.
really, yep, exactly. So just by doing that, by increasing your amount of walking and standing up and sitting down 10 times every hour, can make a huge impact on your muscle function, your brain function, and just how you feel overall.
Awesome. And also motivation. So when we talk about exercise and going to the gym, people usually have a goal of losing 20 pounds, 50 pounds, and it's a very difficult goal to achieve. It's not going to be immediate. And our brains are triggered for immediate gratification. So, we want people to think about movement and increasing activity to give them that extra energy. You're going to sleep better that night itself. You don't have to wait for 6 months to sleep better. You can stop taking your sleeping meds. If you're on sleep aids, you can stop it immediately, not wait for six
Mhm.
months to stop it. So again, I think there's also a change in goals when people think about movement, which is more immediate, rather
Yeah,
than waiting for a long time to achieve those fuzzy goals.
exactly. Yeah. That's one of the things that I start off with all of my clients, is that I try to get them to move, right? MOVE. So you've got mobilize. So start moving more than you currently are.
Mhm.
Optimize. That's where your physical therapist comes into play, to strengthen what's weak and to stretch what's tight. And then V means value. So once you start to place a high value on that movement, because it makes you feel better, it makes you sleep better, it makes you be better, then you get to E, which is experience. And you get to experience life how you want to. And you get to have a little bit more control over that just by adding movement.
Movement. And movement is also known to increase the non-energy activity thermogenesis, which is basically raising your basal metabolic rate, the baseline of energy your body burns very naturally, and not going out of your way and increase your activity for a short period. So, movement throughout the day achieves that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime you can boost that metabolism, that makes you feel so much better, especially if you're having trouble with your nutrition, right? So you can burn off those calories and that energy just as fast as you can eat them. So it helps you to be able to manage that as well.
And lastly, we discussed about how, of course, we discussed how it improves your mood, how it improves all the beneficiary factors that you get from from increasing movement. And some of the examples that you can introduce into your daily life regarding increasing your steps, increasing micro movements, increasing movements in your own office, even though if it's a small space, can you give us some examples on, you said squats, but are there any other small, maybe jumping jacks, maybe some other activity that that people can do on an hourly basis?
Yep, absolutely. So squats is a good one. Jumping jacks is a really good one because that also incorporates your arms and that can get your heart rate up a little bit. So also helping with that metabolism. Another one that I really enjoy having people do is to just kind of come up onto your toes, because that can help with blood flow too in your calves. Because once you sit for a really long time, that blood starts to want to pool down in the calves, and that can put you at so many risks for other things.
Mm-hmm.
So just by coming up onto your toes and then back down, sometimes I'll literally try to just balance on one leg, because movement is also part of balance. And like you talked about earlier, decreasing your risk of falls. And you can even incorporate things like push-ups at different levels. So you can start with a push-up on the wall and you just go back and forth. Then you can move down to your desk. I have a fellow that I worked with who was in his 80s, and he said literally every morning he started off with 30 push-ups. And he's been doing that for however long. And I wasn't seeing him because he was sick. I was seeing him because he wanted to be stronger. So that was a perfect example of something. He just incorporated push-ups into his daily routine. So anything that moves your extremities in a big fashion, so it moves multiple muscles at one time, can really help to boost. It can create those endorphins. It can improve blood flow. It can create clarity and different things like that.
Awesome. So all we have to do is make our bodies moving machines, move all the time, move whenever you can, even if it is to just get up from your chair and sit back again. It can be as small a movement as that, which we don't even think about. But that's what movement is about, is to keep moving, doing things, doing chores by yourself. Pick small things in our houses to clean up or put away, and those can be simple chores that add to a lot of movement during the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's so good that you could join us and let us know about all these great tips for movement. And would you like to tell our viewers how they can reach you for if they're sick or if they just want to get stronger?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook. I have a business Facebook page called On the Move Physical Therapy and Wellness. Or you could even just find me on Facebook at Travis Hauser. Every Monday evening, I do a segment called On the Move Mondays. So I give tips about how to improve your movement. So you can tune into that, or you can send me a message on either one of those Facebook pages.
Fantastic. And, Travis Hauser has been helping so many of our patients improve, and he's such a valuable contact to have for your loved ones if they're ill or if they just want to get stronger.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye. Absolutely. Have a good one. Bye-bye.